as we start consolidating down all these services, all this data, all these access services into virtual systems, parallel systems, distributed systems, whatever the case may be, these become very lucrative targets for cybercrime. Because I know that I've got a virtual machine, or I've got a virtual host out here that's running 100 virtual machines. If I want to go start scrubbing things for credit card numbers, if I take over that one host, I can just look at each of the virtual machines running in there and get a nice broad brush, scrape of society, if you will, based on what's in that virtual machine. Now I can see, is there privacy information? Is there payment card information? But this is a primary target for attackers looking to access those systems. They'll just try to get into the hypervisor. Denial of service attacks against distributed systems. If I have a file server that I used to have inside my network, I didn't have to worry about denial of service attacks. It's all inside my enclave, my system, or my network, so I know I'm okay. But once I take that data and move it up into the cloud, all my users now have to get out across the internet to that cloud service provider to access that data. If there's some type of denial of service attack going on, what happens? My users can't get to their data, and we're at a standstill. Most of the cloud service providers have very robust networks where that's not a concern. But if you're at a smaller provider or a mom and pop shop or something like that, you might want to take a look at that. Just keep in mind that it's not the same as if you had your system here on the network with you locally. An interesting side effect of all this distributed computing. Look at the way denial of service attacks, distributed denial of service attacks are conducted. They use distributed systems. And so if you look at how an actual botnet is constructed and how it's used, it really is a distributed system at its core, using computers that are unwilling hosts, as part of this distributed system. So with this, you've got three primary components: the bot herder, and the command and control server. Sometimes you've got a payload server out there as well. But they're used to conduct denial of service attacks on massive scales. So you have the bot. This is the worker bee. It's also known as a zombie. You'll hear it referred to as that. You've got the bot herder. This is the attacker behind this distributed system. They're the ones controlling it. You've got the command and control server, either C2 or CNC server, which is what is controlling the actual zombies. That's where the instructions are coming from. The information gathered gets sent back to that C2 server. And then potentially you have a payload server as well, and this is where the malware or whatever it is that infects these individual hosts and turns them into zombies, that's where that information resides, or where that malware gets downloaded from. And finally, I'll just share an example here of Bitcoin mining and distributed systems as well. When you're Bitcoin mining, the normal process is you're solving, boil it down, really oversimplify it. You're solving complex math problems, and as you do that, you generate a certain number of Bitcoins. Bitcoins can get turned into, I won't say real currency, because there are some folks out there who are of the mind that Bitcoin is a real currency, but you can exchange between hard currency and virtual currency, Bitcoins. And so what that has created is a market for mining Bitcoins. If I can take computing power and turn it into cold hard cash, why not? So what the attackers have figured out here is that I can take all of those computers that are sitting on desks everywhere across the world that aren't being used and harvest their idle CPU time to mine Bitcoins for me. So the criminals have come up with this malware that basically says, all right, you're an idle computer, you're going to mine Bitcoins for me and send the results back to my controller. And so what you end up with is all of these laptops, all of these servers, even phones, other mobile devices have been added to these Bitcoin mining networks, if you will. And so what you end up with is this entire network of devices that are all trying to mine bitcoins, which the attackers can then turn into hard currency. So this is the underside of distributed networks and how they can be used against us.